Hey everyone, and welcome back to Gender Decoded, your favorite podcast, where we break down the data behind gender, relationships, psychology, and everything in between. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Whether you're commuting, cleaning the house, or just taking a break from the chaos of the world, I've got something fascinating to unpack for you. So sit back, relax, and let's decode the complexities of human attraction together. Today's episode is all about one of the most deeply human questions. What do we really want in a partner? And maybe more importantly, does what we want actually change as we age, get more educated, or feel more desirable? That's what today's research dives into. And it does so in a beautifully thorough and data-driven way. We're going to explore a large representative study from Czechia that looked at over 200 people, asking them what they seek and what they avoid in a partner. We'll talk about how men and women differ in what they prioritize, how age plays a surprisingly small role, and why your self-perception may matter more than your actual income or education when it comes to your standards in love. We'll also dig into two amazing visual graphs that show how these preferences evolve over age and mate value. Trust me, there are some jaw-dropping insights ahead.
Welcome to Gender Decoded, when numbers align, seeing the stories that data defines, breaking the barriers, truth untold, insights in gender, the data falls.
Let's start with a bit of background. Mate preferences have been a hot topic in psychology and evolutionary science for decades. Traditionally, these studies focused on what people desire in romantic or sexual partners, things like warmth, intelligence, status, or attractiveness. But the twist here is that most of those studies were done with weird samples that's Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic populations, and they mostly looked at young adults, usually college students. Not exactly a full slice of humanity, right? Plus, most of those studies only asked about what people wanted, not what they wanted to avoid. And let's be real, knowing someone is kind is great, but knowing they're not clingy, or abusive, or hostile, that's a different kind of deal breaker. So, the study we're talking about today took a fresh approach. Researchers gathered responses from over 2,280 participants aged 18 to 50 from across Czechia. This wasn't just a bunch of undergrads, it was a nationally representative sample, including people of all educational and income levels, from rural villages to big cities. They asked participants to rate how desirable they thought they were as partners' self-perceived mate value, and then collected information on their actual age, education, income, number of romantic and sexual partners, and whether they were in a relationship. All of these were used as indicators of objective mate value. Then, the participants were asked to rate how important various traits were in a partner. There were 15 traits in total, 7 considered desirable, like warmth, status, intelligence, attractiveness, dominance, and 8 considered undesirable, like being clingy, hostile, abusive, unambitious, depressive. And here's the kicker they looked at: how these preferences changed with age, with mate value, and by gender. Now, let's talk charts. The first visual shows how desirable and undesirable traits change in importance with age. Across both men and women, the hashtag one most wanted trait was warmth, and that didn't change much with age. Physical attractiveness declined in importance slightly over time, especially for men. Meanwhile, women consistently rated status and dominance higher than men, but these also dipped as they got older. On the flip side, both sexes showed very little tolerance for traits like hostility and abusiveness, and women in particular were more sensitive to those red flags than men. Clinginess, interestingly, was the least rejected among the undesirable traits. It actually ranked higher than unambitious or arrogant. The second chart is even more fascinating. It explores how perceived mate value, how desirable people think they are, affects their expectations. The higher people rated themselves, the more demanding they became. Women who thought they were highly desirable rated attractiveness, intelligence, and passion in their partners especially high. Men did this too, but to a much smaller degree. So while objective factors like income or education had weak associations with mate preferences, self-perception packed more punch. Your dating standards, it seems, rise more with, though confidence than with your paycheck. Here's a mind-blowing detail. All the demographic and mating strategy variables together age, education, income, relationship experience explained just 3% of the variation in men's mate preferences and 5% in women's. That's tiny. It suggests that most of what shapes who we want as a partner can't be explained by our resumes or life stats. Even mate value itself, when calculated by all these indicators, barely moved the needle. What mattered more was how people saw themselves. If you believe you're a catch, you act like one in the dating market. That psychological edge seems to be more powerful than the objective metrics. Also, women showed more dynamic shifts in mate preferences based on their circumstances than men did. For instance, educated women were more likely to demand intelligence, earning power, and emotional stability in a partner, and less likely to tolerate clinginess or emotional instability. Meanwhile, men's preferences stayed fairly constant, regardless of their own status. One possible takeaway: women adjust their expectations based on their position in the social mating market, while men seem to maintain their ideals more rigidly. One more wild finding: the more sex partners someone had, the more demanding they became, not less. You might think people with more experience lower their standards or become more flexible, but this study found the opposite. And this was true for both men and women, especially in passion and attractiveness. So it's not about becoming jaded, it's about becoming selective. Let's wrap up. This study sheds light on how little age and even real-life success influence what we want in a partner. It challenges assumptions we often hear that older people lower their expectations or that high-earning people are pickier. Turns out, it's more about how desirable you think you are. Self-perception drives standards. Women are consistently more demanding, particularly around emotional and behavioral red flags. And while both sexes want warmth more than anything, women are quicker to reject partners who show signs of being clingy, hostile, or abusive. So what's the real takeaway here? If you're feeling frustrated in your dating life, maybe it's not about your age or bank account. Maybe it's about how you see yourself and whether you believe you deserve better. Because according to the data, that belief can shift what you want, what you tolerate, and what you walk away from. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Gender Decoded. If you found this fascinating, and let's be honest, how could you not? Go ahead and share it with someone who's always talking about high standards or settling down. We'll be back next time with another deep dive into the messy, beautiful science of human behavior. Until then, keep decoding.